We take on the darkness, stare down deceit. Murder in the headlines, justice in the beat. From cold case whispers to killers in disguise, we rip off the mask, expose all the lies. Facts like bullets we load and deliver. Truth cuts deep like a blade in a river. Corruption shakes when the mic goes live. We dig where others won't survive. Games rolling through the smoke. Truth hits hard, no time for a joke. Deceit, murder, we name every name. No restraint, no shame, just flame. Locked on the case, we investigate.
This is 12 Gauge Investigative. Let's jump in.
You'll ever need 12 Gauge Investigate. We make them bleed. No games, no censors, just truth. Justice is loud, and we're the sound. This is 12 Gauge Investigative.
All right. Welcome back. My name is 12 Gauge. This is 12 Gauge Investigative. You know, I decided to come back and do an upload rather than a live because it seems the lives lately have just been going a little off course, and for whatever reason, people feel like they can just come in there and derail the situation just based on their beliefs, which their beliefs are never challenged. Their beliefs are always appreciated. But at the same time, it seems a little, I don't know what the word would be, that they would come in and just be so aggressive at times. And it also turns the other chatters off. They leave because they don't want to hear all this stuff going on, which I could understand. But without further ado, let's get on with what I started this live to be. And this is about the DoorDash driver. What you're going to hear is this lady talking about being the dasher and how her husband was murdered in Moscow just shopping, and how she's going to have to testify in the college girl's murder, and that she saw Brian. So here we go.
Did a doctor diagnose that, or?
My doctor includes, yes, all diagnosis.
Okay.
I have PTSD, I have depression, I have insomnia. My husband was murdered in front of me. He was shot 9 times. Our friend
Where did that happen?
in Moscow.
In Moscow? When was that?
The year before me.
Who was your husband?
Charles Michael, he was shot in his head.
And
And now I have to testify. Big murder case too, so yeah, because I'm a DoorDash driver, so yeah.
you have to testify in which murder
Murder
case?
case for the college girls.
Oh.
My DoorDash driver, I saw Brian.
And there you heard her say, because I saw Brian. So think about how you would feel in that position. That position where you're asked to testify because you saw an alleged killer just delivering food to 1122 King Road. One thing I have is questions, because I always have questions. And sometimes they have answers, and sometimes they're answered with nothing more than questions. Well, the one question I have to ask is, I wonder what time appropriately she saw Brian at 1122. Did she see him parked in his car? Did she see him driving by? Did she capture him driving by? Did he almost hit the vehicle? Did she see him as he was potentially driving by, going up to make the final descendment into parking besides the King Road residence? These are all interesting questions because if you think about it, there's only a limited amount of time which this individual could have seen Brian Koberger. Let's watch that again.
You don't work right all the time. I don't understand.
Did a doctor diagnose that, or
Um, Doctor, please, yes, all diagnosis.
okay?
I have PTSD. I have depression. I have insomnia. My husband murdered me. He shot my girlfriend
Where did that happen?
in Moscow.
In Moscow. When was that?
Before leave. The year before leave.
Who was your husband?
Charles Michael, he shot me in the head.
And
Now I have to testify. Big partner case too, so yeah, because I'm the DoorDash driver, so yeah.
you have to testify in which murder case?
Murder case with the college girls.
Oh,
I'm a DoorDash driver, I saw Brian.
So this has not been vetted, so I don't know how accurate this is, but you take it as what you want because she saw Brian. Is that Brian Koberger? Is that Brian O'Keefe? Is that Brian Jameson? I mean, she saw Brian. It's interesting to say the least, but also, like I said, I have multiple questions about the authenticity of this recording. It is on the police body cam video, which, you can't. Mm, you can't have the ability to mess with those. But also, the one thing I hate about those body cams is there's also, whenever they're in the building, there's always seems to be some whirring sound either in the courtrooms or in the investigation rooms. I mean, I hate that. There's always that ooh, and it kind of drowns out whatever the person's saying. So it's not very clear. And she was looking down as she was saying it. So it makes you wonder exactly what she had said, because I looked after this and she really didn't talk about this anymore. She just talked about this in that little bitty time frame. And we've always talked about on this channel the possibility of the DoorDash driver being able to see Brian Koberger, either coming or going. So it's interesting that she does say that she saw Brian, if indeed she did see him. So think a little bit about that context. If she saw him, would she be able to distinguish whether he went into the house, whether she saw him just passing by and driving? Did she see him getting out of the vehicle? What did she see? Would she be able to describe Mr. Koberger? Did she see him coming out of the residence dressed all in black? Did she see him entering the residence with anything over his shoulder, a backpack, a kill kit, anything like that? The fact that she says she saw Brian really doesn't give us a lot. You know, I'm not one of those people that takes a little bit of information like that and blows it up to be something that could be nothing more than, well, you saw him. What was he doing? Give us more. because there was no doubt that somebody saw him. And it's awesome that you did see him if you did, because there's a lot of people that don't believe that he was seen. And as you remember, on the back deck of the 1122 house, there was lights strung up. So if she was getting into her vehicle, she pulled into the driveway, then she could have seen the back part of 1122 lit up. So she could have seen a man walking out of his car toward the residence, or she could have seen him drive by. It's just interesting to what context she meant that statement in. And I know a lot of people are going to be able to run with this and give their spin on it and even give their additive hypothesis on where she could have seen him, how she saw him, and what went down. So I thought I would get on here and I'd make a very short video to ask these questions to see if anybody has heard any definitive logical explanation on what would make this individual state that she saw Brian Koberger. So if you have any definitive information on the context in which she said this, please comment down below because it is interesting and I will be keeping up with this as it goes along. Thank you very much for your time. And this is 12 Gauge from 12 Gauge Investigative signing off. See you soon.